Hey guys, welcome back to Bait and Tackle. Today we are going to make some musky jigs, and I'm going to show you what I did to modify a mold to make it so that we could pour these these 1.5-ounce jig heads with a giant 9/0 hook. These things are massive, and I was able to actually put a screw lock inside of the mold, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So I'm kind of claiming these as a musky jig. That's what I'm using them for. So it's a pretty big EWG hook, but it's a 9/0. I'm going to show you what it takes to make these. So the first thing you guys need to know is we are using an Ultra Minnow Jig mold, and this is from Do It Molds. This is an Ultra Minnow Jig. Okay, so we took the jig mold, and what I did was I widened out this channel down here where the hook goes, and what that did, I deepened it out so it gave me enough room to fit the screw lock in there. So let me get one of these hooks out. I'm going to show you what it takes to do this. So again, these are some massive 9/0 hooks, and I believe they are a 768 Mustad, if I'm not mistaken. That's the last three numbers, 768. Is it 768 or 780? 768, yeah. So I think I found these at Lurecraft for like a super cheap buyout at one point, but it is a massive hook. I mean, look at that thing. It's giant. So the one thing is to get this in the mold. If you try to fit it in the mold right now, what it does is it leaves a very shallow, like if I put the hook circle, the eyelet where it's supposed to go in the mold, it gets super close to the edge of the mold right there. See it? So what we need to do is we need to bend the hook just a little bit. I took a pair of these big pliers and I just bend that hook just a little bit, just enough to give it a little bit more angle. And then what happens is it fits right in the middle of the channel. Let me see if I can get this light on here for you so you guys can see just a little bit better. It fits it right into that channel, and now it's right in the center. And the hook eye is right where it's supposed to be. So there's that part of it. You got to bend the big hook. The second part is we need a screw lock. These are some giant screw locks I found on Amazon. I don't remember what the model is or anything. I'll probably put the link in the description for these. But what I ended up doing was I took some of these, and you got to get some good clippers, some real heavy duty. These are just some little side cutters. And what I did was clipped off. We need to have a good chunk, a little bit of wire to go the length into the cavity. So we need a little bit of wire to come up through here. So if you hold this thing up to it, we need, and where the corkscrew starts, we're going to need at least that metal. We're going to need to bend it out so it at least goes into this cavity here where the skirt and the bait keeper are. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this screw lock and I'm going to cut it right where it starts to drop down. Right where it starts to drop down. Let me see if I can get this cut. These are very tough to cut. There it goes. Okay, so cut the wire. I got this, like I said, I've got the screw lock, and I cut it right down in there. But now what we're going to do is we're going to bend that part out. I'm going to take some pliers here. We're going to bend that part straight out. We're going to try to keep it as straight as possible. It takes a little bit, but you can bend it for the most part pretty much straight or close to straight, just like this. Okay, so now we got the screw lock part with that, and we don't need that much screw lock. We can actually cut some of that off. So like on this one that I made before, you see how it's only got 3/4 corkscrews. So that's about all we need is 3 corkscrews. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip off pretty much 1.5 parts of that corkscrew. So now what we got is this. We got 3 corkscrews on there with a straight piece. And what the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the very end of that straight piece and I'm going to put a little tiny bend in it like that. And what that's going to do is hold it in the lead. That'll hold that thing in the lead, so then that way it won't come out. So, what we got to do now is take the screw lock and we have to put it on the hook, but it's got to be on there so that it will fit, and it didn't do it right. You need to make sure that it stays on the hook the way we want it. So it's centered, stays on there. There we go. Okay, so now I've got the corkscrew inside on the hook. It just slid down here. Let me see if I can hold it. There we go. So this is what we're looking for. We're looking for that right there. There we go. Okay. So when we put it in the mold, take the mold, we put it in, we put the corkscrew down first because that's what I modified the mold for, was to put that corkscrew in there. Now we got to get it in there so it won't move on us. Then we also need to close this lid, but we got to make sure that the hook doesn't move, because the hook eye is going to be in there really tight even though we did that. So now what you'll have is you'll have the corkscrew, you'll have the screw lock, and you will have the hook hanging out of the bottom. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. Now for a safety measure, I take a clamp, pressure clamp, just like this, okay, and I put it on the bottom side and I squeeze that cavity together just to make sure we don't get any flashing in the lead mold, so it doesn't come out of the mold. And you will be able to tell easily because you'll have a gap here, okay, you'll have a gap on the bottom right there where it meets, you'll have a gap there. So what I did was I cleaned that out. So what that does, we cut that channel out, so that allows me to have the screw lock in there with the hook, and I can still squeeze this down. So you do it if you're comfortable with it. I don't like modifying molds, but I figured I would just try it on this one just to see how it came out, and it came out pretty darn good. So we got this all set up. I'm gonna go ahead, once the lead's hot, and I'm gonna pour this mold, and I'm gonna get you guys a little bit closer. You guys can see me pour the lead in the mold. The other thing that I forgot to do, and I'll probably go ahead and do this before we get too much farther, is I have this stuff called Frankfurt Arsenal Dropout. This stuff is a miracle when it comes to lead molds. You can spray it in there. You got to spray it very lightly. Don't do too much, and don't leave it wet. It's gotta dry, okay? But you spray it in the cavities, just like that. That's what that dark color is in the cavity. You spray a light coat of it in that cavity, then that way you know that it gets the entire mold filled with lead and you don't get any gaps, okay? So I'm just gonna give you a little example. Just lightly spray it. That way I know that it's gonna fill, and it does, it fills it right in. It helps with a lot of those little nuisance spots. The other thing too that I might do just to make this a little bit better is I'm going to set this on top of the lead mold, or of the lead pot, to heat up, okay? Because we want this to be hot so that it'll fill in correctly the way we want it to. So we got the lead mold all heated up. It was sitting on there for quite a few minutes. It's pretty hot right now. We're just gonna go ahead and let some lead out. We're gonna make sure that the pour spout is all cleaned out. It's got a little bit of gunk in it. If you run some hot lead through it, it makes it a lot better, which I think we're good now. So what I'm gonna do is set my cup off to the side. It may drip a little bit, but I'm ready to pour this back cavity. It's nice and hot. let's do this. So, a lot of stuff you got to be careful with, especially with this clamp in the way. It makes it a little bit more difficult. And my hand is in the way. I wish I had a better way to view this for you guys. I'm actually going to go ahead and this is not going to be easy. I'm just going to try to go ahead and do it this way. So we're going to go ahead and knock off that little bit of drip there. We're going to put it right in the cavity all the way, and we're going to fill it right up until it comes out the top. That's it. Okay. So let's bring it back over to the table. Give it a second to rest, and we'll see how we did. All right, here we go. So I'm going to take the clamp off, set that off to the side. We're going to open this puppy up, see how we did. Nice clean lead shot there. Let me get that zoomed in so you guys can see it. I don't see any spots or any holes that didn't fill in correctly. Let's take it out of the mold, make sure that we got everything. Oh, the sprue just broke off, which is actually kind of perfect because I didn't want to deal with it. But it looks like everything filled out correctly. You got a little bit there where the actual screw lock is, but it's okay. But that is how you make a musky jig. That is phenomenal. 9/0 hook, it's huge. Got a screw lock for a bait. Got this right here if you wanted to tie on some feathers or something, or some hair, make a hair jig. Myself, I like to do the skirts, so I'll put a nice skirt on this after I get it dipped in color and color the head and do what I need to do to it. So very, very awesome. All right, guys, well, that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. Hope you enjoyed that. We made some killer musky jigs. The only thing that I didn't add was you just got to file down a little bit where the sprue was on the actual lead itself to clean it up. But other than that, it is ready to rock. We'll paint this thing up maybe next time. I don't know if I'll do another video on these or not. You guys have seen me do jig painting and stuff like that in the past. Same idea, dip it in. We use our fluid beds, dip it in whatever color we want, add some added effect to it, whatever we want to do to it. So pretty killer. I think I've posted a bunch of stuff on Instagram, some ones that I just did in the past. So go check out some of those colorways I did. But other than that, this is an awesome musky jig. It's huge. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And always keep on baiting.